We begin the news in Abuja, where the Senate has called on the military to deploy more troops and modern equipment to Borno and Yobe states following a spike in Boko Haram attacks. The resolution was passed on Tuesday after Senate Chief Whip Muhammad Tahir Mongono reported that over a dozen soldiers were killed in an ambush in Marte Town, Mongono local government area. He warned that insurgents are now using advanced technology, including drones and improvised explosive devices, posing a growing threat to both troops and civilians. Senator Abbas Aminu of Adamawa Central supported the motion, calling for similar reinforcements in his state. The Senate also tasked its committees on Army and Air Force to monitor the implementation of the redeployment and equipment upgrades. Still at the Senate, all three senators representing Kebi State have officially defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. The defectors are Adamu Aliero, Kebi Central, Yahaya Abdullahi, Kebi North, and Garba Maidoki, Kebi South. Their letters of defection were read during Tuesday's plenary session by the Deputy President of the Senate, Barrow Jibrin, who presided over the sit-in. APC National Chairman Umaru Ganduje was also in attendance. Still on Senate matters, the Federal High Court in Abuja has set June 27th to deliver judgment on the suit filed by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who is challenging her 6-month suspension from the Senate. Justice Binta Nyako fixed the date on Tuesday after hearing final submissions from both sides. Now, the court will rule on two key issues: contempt claims filed by the parties and a preliminary objection by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who is challenging the court's jurisdiction to hear the case. Other defendants include the Senate, the Clerk of the National Assembly, and the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, who represents Kogi Central, was present in court for the proceedings. In the meantime, about 7 newly introduced constitutional amendment bills have failed to pass second reading in the House of Representatives following rejection by lawmakers through a voice vote. Now, the bill included a proposal to amend the Constitution to allow for the rotation of the offices of the President and Vice President among the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, as well as a bill seeking to transfer the power of political party registration and regulation from the Independent National Electoral Commission to the Office of the Registrar General of Political Parties. Both were debated and rejected by lawmakers. Also rejected was a bill to alter the Constitution to provide for the establishment, independence, and functions of the offices of the State Auditors General for local governments and the Federal Capital Territory Area Councils. Other rejected bills include a proposal to amend the Constitution to provide that the number of judges of the Federal High Court be not less than 100, and a bill seeking to create Ugali East local government area in Delta State. Another rejected proposal was a bill to alter the Constitution to expand the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court to include admiralty matters such as shipping and navigation on the River Benue, River Niger, their effluents, and other inland waterways. Meanwhile, the Lagos All Progressives Congress Deaf Support Group has raised concerns over the continued exclusion of deaf individuals from political appointments in the state. Members of the group said at a press briefing in Lagos that they are routinely overlooked when it comes to decision-making roles despite their active involvement in campaigns and elections. They emphasized that the issue is not a lack of qualified deaf professionals, but rather a system that fails to recognize their capabilities. With the party's primary election ahead of the local government election concluded and new appointments imminent, the APC deaf community in Lagos is not just asking to be heard, they are demanding a seat at the table.
Contesting councillor for this dispensation, no one of us. You are not happy at all. They just use mouth of us. And as we are complaining is that we help during campaign. We rally around our candidates. We do all we can for them. When they finish it, they are given position as reward. They can appoint some of us work with them, like personal assistant, like special advisor. Any position just to confer our group for our effort.
Former Benue State Governor and Senator Gabriel Suswam has issued a stark warning that the People's Democratic Party could collapse before the 2027 elections if urgent action isn't taken to address internal crises. Now, speaking in an interview Tuesday, Suswam described the PDP as being in critical condition, comparing it to a patient in intensive care with only 50-50 chance of survival. He pointed to infighting over the National Secretary position and a wave of defections, including Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborewari and former Governor Binta Nyako joining the APC as signs of deep trouble. Suswam said a rescue effort led by ex-Senate President Bukola Saraki may be the party's last hope. Members of the All Progressives Congress in Lagos State, particularly from Badagry West and Mushin local government areas, have staged a protest at the party secretariat in Ikeja. News Central's Igbalani Omoni reports.
Several members of the Lagos State chapter of the All Progressives Congress are staging a protest at the party secretariat at Acme Road, Ikeja. This development comes as the party appeal committee has set May 13th as the deadline for aggrieved aspirants seeking local government chairmanship seats to submit their appeals. The party members from Badagry West were the first to arrive at the secretariat to submit their appeal, as they criticized the selection of the candidates to represent them.
How do you explain a situation where 25 delegates that came from Badagry West were accredited and they were allowed to cast their vote for the candidates of their choice? And at the end of the day, 13 people voted for a particular candidate in person of Princess Oluremi. And when result was announced, 0 vote was allotted to her. That is the first one. The second one, the vote announced for Badagry West accounted only for 22. What happened to the remaining 3 votes? The person that 19 votes was allotted to, we don't have anything personal against him. He's our current vice chairman at the NCDA. But nobody should be rigged into Badagry West. If people must lose elections, let them lose honorably.
Àwọn ọmọ wa ra fọ́ọ̀mù wọn fún wọn ní kankan a ṣe primary election wọ́n kàn gbé wa a kàn tẹ̀lé wọn bí ẹrú a sì fẹ́ yẹn mọ́ kó káwa náà bá wọn wà ní council Mushin local government yẹn kí àwa náà wà ń bẹ̀ wọ́n sọ wá dẹrú ní mandate táwa ń ṣe wọn fún wa lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ wa o.
Aspirants and members from the Mushin local government also joined in, criticizing the entire primary process.
Out of the 10 words, I can beat my chest that none of the words have any electoral committee one. We don't have any primary to say, like we don't go to field. Before going to field, we have been called to the chairman, I mean the outgoing chairman office, that and we're giving the names of the people they wanted to give their mandate to, not the people the whole of Mushin wanted to give the mandate to. We are here to tell you that all these things are not what we want. We want the party structure and leaders to look into this and please do the needful.
Despite the APC primaries producing 55 candidates through a combination of consensus and delegate voting, internal disputes have persisted. Notably, the Lagos Mainland Local Government Area and Yaba Local Council Development Area failed to produce candidates during the primaries.
Now that their mandates have been stolen, how do you preach anything to them about APC? These aspirants, some of them spent hours, days, months, some years planning for 2025 election. Do you know what it means, what it takes to gather people, to go for meeting? You go to greet one leader, you're about sleeping in your house, they call you, another leader is calling you here, you go there, and this person we are talking about is a woman.
I am not saying Muslim people are going against the APC. I can say we are loyalists of this party. We are a loyalist of this party. We are always ready to work for this party. But we are not ready to continue with this style of imposition.
More disgruntled members from other local governments, including Shomolu, are expected to file their appeals. The appeal committee, chaired by the Lagos State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Lawal Pedro, was set up following widespread protests both online and offline after the May 10 primaries. Despite the party's assurances, tensions remain high in several local government areas as preparations continue for the local government and council elections scheduled for July 12th. In Lagos 4 News Central, Igbalani Omoni.
And now we move to insecurity as well, where the Senate has called on the military to redeploy more troops and modern equipment to Yobe and Borno states following a spike in Boko Haram activities. And right now we have to speak to us on this. We have Darlington Omaru. He is a security expert. Thank you so much, Darlington, for joining us on the news.
My pleasure being here once again.
All right, so let's hear your thoughts, first of all, on the Senate's call for modern equipment and also the military to move to Borno and Yobe State.
Well, the Senate called for modern equipment for the military to persecute their constitutional obligation to Nigerians is not out of place. Well, it is the concern of everybody. But I think what the Senate does not, the power the Senate does not have is to order the military to do one or two things, by virtue of whatever their decisions could be. If they are suggesting, fine. But do they have the right to order the military on what to do? The answer is no. But do they also have the right to suggest that the equipment of the military should be improved upon in terms of tackling the sophisticated insurgents?
Yeah.
Well, yes, that is good enough.
Okay. So, but how is it that they have a right for the equipment of the military to be upped, since the insurgents are using sophisticated drones and armor, but they do not have the right to push for the military to go and actually make camp and make sure that they phase out these insurgents?
I don't know what you really meant by the right to ask the military to really go out. The military don't take order from the Senate. They take order from the higher command, which is the military. If you allow politicians to begin to order the military about, then there will be a bigger chaos. The military is not structured to take order from civilians in that order. They are meant to take order from the higher command of the military. That is the way they are structured.
All right, so but what exactly do you think is responsible for the spike in insurgency, especially in Boko Haram, seen in Maiduguri and Yobe State, seeing that, for some time now, the military has stepped up and said that they've been able to push them away. What exactly is the reason for the spike?
Nobody will be able to tell. Definitely, the terrorists will not want anybody to go away or run away with the impression that they've been completely decimated. What they will always want to go for pockets of bombing and attacks that palpable fear they want to continue to instill on the people would remain so. But my concern is that since late last year, December, I think, the insurgent stronger than a couple of years before now.
All right, we seem to be having an issue with Darlington, but thank you so much. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, the news continues.
The security situation in Plateau State appears to be fluctuating once again.
Thank you for staying. Now, security operatives in Plateau State have reaffirmed their commitment to sustaining peace across the state, working in close collaborations with key state actors. This follows a series of recent criminal activities reported in parts of Wase, Kwampan, and Barikin-Ladi local government areas of the state. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe reports.
The security situation in Plateau State appears to be fluctuating once again. From sporadic killings by so-called unknown gunmen to cases of kidnapping and cattle rustling, several local communities remain on edge. The recent kidnapping incident at a marketplace in Wase local government area has reignited concerns over rising insecurity. However, the efforts of troops from Operation Safe Haven and the 3 Armored Division of the Nigerian Army have been widely praised. They have made several arrests, neutralized unknown gun runners and kidnappers, and recovered various weapons and ammunition. The Plateau State Police Command also says ongoing efforts are being intensified to restore safety and stability.
Some of those cases that you are hearing of, arrests are being made. You know, we are getting people arrested. Just of recent, we arrested about some 6 cattle rustlers. They are in the state CID undergoing investigation. Other times we arrested kidnappers, more than I think 6 or 7 of them, who have been disturbing the Jos East axis. And by the grace of God, you can also tell that you have not been hearing much coming from that side when it comes to kidnapping. So a lot is going on.
It is important to note that the public also has a critical role to play in achieving sustainable peace in the state.
Most of those skirmishes that you have heard is as a result of sometimes some of our citizens not paying proper directive to lay down rules that are for their safeguard and for their safekeeping, and it is affecting our operations. We have been engaging them on stakeholders meeting to also heighten their security knowledge, get them enlightened on what to do proactively, that we ensure that this doesn't happen to them.
While every civilized society experiences some level of insecurity, this should never be an excuse for lawlessness and disorder in our communities. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyuri.
Now, moving back to the Federal High Court in Abuja, setting the June 27th date to deliver judgment in the suit filed by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who is challenging her 6-month suspension from the Senate. We have our correspondent, Joshua Marayi, on standby to give us an update. Joshua, please go ahead.
Well, good evening to you, Dasha. Today at the Federal High Court in Abuja, the suit challenging a suspension from the Senate, suit by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, challenging a suspension from the Senate, resumed today. For the first time since the suit has been initiated at the Federal High Court, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was in court in flesh and blood today to observe as proceedings went on. So upon commencement of proceedings today, while the councils representing several parties announced appearances, when it came to the time of the parties themselves announcing appearances, she stood up and was announced as being present during the proceedings, while then Justice Binta Nyako noted that she truly was present. It went on, and based on the last consensus they had in the previous proceeding, they all agreed that they were going to come forward today, adopt their processes for the suit, and leave the argument for the judge to consider each party's case. So today, the different parties adopted their proceedings. The plaintiff, that is the person of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, through a lawyer, that is the person of Michael Numa, actually paid the court to rule out suspension from the Senate and declare it null and void, stating that the Senate was illegal in that part to declare her seat suspended and her office suspended. The court also prayed the counsel to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan also prayed the court to discountenance the allegations made by the defendant that she went against the earlier court order that barred social media posts as well as several publications. The counsel representing Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan told the court that what she spoke about, that the satirical apology that she posted on her Facebook page, was not connected to the case currently being heard in the court. Moving forward, the counsel representing the first, second, third, and fourth defendants, that is the Senate President itself, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics, actually prayed the court to strike past Senator Natasha's suit, saying that the case before it was not in the jurisdiction of the court, saying it is an internal matter of the Senate, and the court should strike it out for lacking in merit. So these are so many, one of the major prayers that they submitted to the court today. And the counsel representing the Senate President, that is the person of Kebi State, prayed the court that the court should order Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to bring down the satirical post on her Facebook page that it is ridiculing the court. The court, however, adjourned and set June 27th to rule on the several contempt issue before it, and as well as the suspension case of Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that update, Joshua. Away from that, today marks the final burial rites of the late Pa Edwin Clark in Kiabodo, Delta State, with the funeral procession now at the graveside. Now, the day's events commenced with the line in state, followed by a commendation service and other funeral ceremonies culminating in his internment at Edwin Clark University. News Central's Austin Azu reports that prominent Nigerian dignitaries, including former President Goodluck Jonathan, President of the Senate Godswill Akpabio, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation George Akume, have all paid tribute to the elder statesman.
We are also thankful to celebrate a life that was truly well lived, in full validation of human dignity and dogged defense of our people's freedom and national pride. Chief Edwin Clark, whose mortal remains have been committed to Mother Earth today, was not just a father, leader, and patriot. He was an extraordinary human being, a pillar of our nation, an audacious voice for the voiceless, and an unflinching defender of justice, minority rights, and national unity. Chief Clerk dedicated the whole length of his long life to the service of his fatherland, from his early days as a teacher, as a commissioner at the state level, to his years as a federal commissioner, or later as an elder statesman. He remained courageous and fearless advocate for equity, justice, inclusivity, and good governance. My presence here is I left the Senate chambers, we are sitting, but I said I must touch Kiabodo. I must touch Kiabodo today to underscore the fact that we valued him while alive, and we value this community for praising him. The memory of Baklan will never cease from Nigerian history. We honor a man whose life and presence was very commanding as his convictions. Sir Edwin Clark, his life was a long and purposeful journey, one that saw him rise from the creeks of the Niger Delta to the commanding heights of national influence. Senator Clerk was not merely a participant in Nigerian story, but a chapter of the very narrative that one can make out of Nigeria. He was a voice that spoke when silence was easier, a leader who stood tall when compromise was compromise, and a patron who loved the Niger Delta, loved the nation, loved Nigeria, and loved the minorities, not just for what he was, but for what he could become. Chief Clerk was a towering figure whose influence was felt across Nigeria's political firmament for nearly 6 decades. Chief Clerk was a beacon of courage. He stood unwaveringly for his beliefs and fearlessly confronted injustice, even when it meant standing alone. He spoke for the Niger Delta. He spoke for the nation. His views and interventions on national issues were distinct and patriotic. He was a champion of his community and the country. But Clerk believed in a united Nigeria, and until his last breath, he never stopped reaching out to people from different parts of the country to work together to preserve national unity based on justice and equity.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency has forecast that Lagos, Delta, Bayelsa, Cross River, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom will record the highest number of rainy days in 2025, ranging between 250 and 290 days. Now, the projection was outlined in NMET's 2025 Seasonal Change Climate Prediction, released on Monday. States expected to follow closely with between 200 and 250 days include Ogun, Oyo, Ekiti, Osun, Ebonyi, Anambra, and Enugu. We'll take a break now. When we come back, the news returns. Stay with us. The federal government has announced the temporary closure of the Jora Marine Bridge in Lagos starting Sunday, May 18th, to carry out urgent repair works. Now, the closure, which will last for 21 days, was confirmed in a statement by the Federal Controller of Works in Lagos, Mrs. Olukorede Kesha, on Tuesday. She said some sections of the bridge will be completely closed, while others will experience partial closures. The repairs include lifting the bridge deck to replace worn-out bearings and conducting other critical maintenance. Kesha assured the public that traffic diversions have been carefully planned with traffic officers deployed to manage inflow. With China and Taiwan set for a showdown over the One China policy following its push for political independence from mainland China, Nigeria's federal government has been tasked to shun interference and maintain its non-aligned position. This was as foreign experts converged on the Abuja to review the One China policy, saying that despite the ongoing controversy, Taiwan's call for independence and recognition as a sovereign state is an affront on its agreement with China and should not be encouraged by Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, Amadin Uyi reports.
The controversy over the recognition of Taiwan as an independent state or a part of China has taken media spotlight in recent months. While China insists Taiwan is a part of its territory and cannot exist as an independent state, thus its One China policy, the position of the Taiwanese government has been different. Chinese representatives say its foreign policy remains unchanged, and it will not accept Taiwan's push for independence and recognition by other countries.
The meaning of One China principle is very clear and unambiguous, consisting of three sentences. There is only one China in the world, the first one. Second one is Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. That's the second sentence. The third sentence is the government of the People's Republic of China is the only legitimate government representing all of China.
This public dialogue reviews Nigeria's relations with China and Taiwan in the light of the One China policy. Some foreign experts say Taiwan's call for Nigeria to recognize it as a sovereign state undermines Nigeria's relations with China and can be likened to interfering with Chinese relationship with Taiwan.
The call by a certain and belief for a renewal of a 1994 bilateral agreement between both countries is an abnormality.
Nigeria has continued to uphold the One China principle because it respects the territorial integrity of the People's Republic of China. And that is why Nigeria upholds this particular principle and policy of One China. The activities of the Protectorate Office is not really on China. Is not undermining China. It is rather undermining Nigerian integrity, especially its core policy of One China.
Chinese foreign representatives say that China will reject any call for Taiwan's independence and any attempt to split the Chinese government into two independent entities.
The Chinese government and the people uphold the One China principle rather than to oppose any conspiracies and aimed at splitting China, splitting the country and the nation, and firmly reject any attempts to create two Chinas, one China, one Taiwan, or pursue Taiwan independence.
With the controversy raging on, experts here urge Nigeria's government to maintain its position on non-alignment and non-interference, so as not to interfere in the ongoing impasse between China and Taiwan. In Abuja for News Central, I am Ahmadin Uyi.
Away from Nigeria and in North Africa, violent clashes have broken out in the Libyan capital Tripoli, with thick plumes of black smoke rising as rival militias engaged in fierce fighting from Monday evening. Now, heavy gunfire and explosions echoed across the city, prompting authorities to urge residents to remain indoors, and local media have reported the death of Abdul Ghani al-Kikli, leader of the influential support and stability apparatus in southern Tripoli. The fighting has also spread to involve armed groups from Tripoli and Misrata, fueling renewed fears of instability in a country still struggling to recover from years of turmoil following the 2011 fall of Muammar Gaddafi. Several schools have been forced to close, and the United Nations mission in Libya has issued an urgent call for an immediate ceasefire. It warned that attacks in densely populated areas also could constitute war crimes under international law. Each year, the Africa CEO Forum brings together more than 2,000 CEOs, investors, heads of state, and ministers to debate the continent's most pressing priorities and set its business agenda. In Abidjan, the 2025 Africa CEO Forum brought together public and private sector decision makers for 2 days of high-level debates, negotiations, discussions, and workshops. Under the theme, can a new deal between state and private sector deliver the continent a winning hand? The forum focused on optimizing public-private collaboration to advance sustainable development. Now, to discuss more, we're joined by Neville Majier, CEO of Brand South Africa. He joins us from Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Thank you so much for joining us on the news, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, and good evening to you and the viewers.
Good evening. So tell us, what are your key takeaways from the just-ended CEO Forum in Abidjan?
Yeah, an absolutely successful event with over 7,000 civic CEOs, government officials, and high-ranking officials. The session really created a great opportunity for networking. Number two, it created a great opportunity for showcasing the best of Africa. We had the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, Honorable Wamkele Mene, here also. who really drove the message around the AFCFTA and how Africa needs to do business with itself before we look outside the shores of the continent. We had a South African delegation here, which also comprised businesses from the financial sector that are specifically exploring opportunities of enhancing the relations within Africa in terms of funding business opportunities and increasing trade within the continent. We also specifically looked at potential investors who are looking at investing not only in South Africa, but in other regions of the continent, because we had some of our DFIs who are looking at regional investment opportunities, cross-border investments, and that created a great opportunity.
Okay. Now, could you give us insights into the discussions during the South Africa high-level panel?
Yeah, so during the South Africa high-level panel, we had our Minister of Energy and Electricity deliver the keynote speech, which specifically focused on how South Africa has emerged from the energy challenges that it had a few years ago. That is now almost a thing of the past in terms of the plans that South Africa has put in place, highlighting also other sectors such as our manufacturing sectors, within the manufacturing, automotive, the pharmaceuticals, the chemical sector, clothing, textiles, leather, and footwear, as well as opportunities within those sectors. We also had an opportunity to showcase South Africa's preparedness for the G20 and partnering the team that is specifically focusing on B20, which is the business component of G20. In terms of their preparation and the type of lobbying that is actually going to be taking place in terms of changing of policy and how they're focusing, particularly in terms of the energy, the ICT, as well as the trade and investment component of it to realize greater benefit, not only for South Africa, but for the African continent.
All right. Now, based on your observations, what is the overall perception, of South Africa's economic prospects, and that's among other African business leaders and international partners at the forum? Because you did talk about how the forum addressed the current economic challenges and also opportunities for African businesses.
So one of the critical things, in fact, at yesterday's platform was highlighting which countries' growth is actually quite high within the continent. And it's quite commendable to see quite a huge uptake in terms of economic growth within the continent by other countries. Of course, South Africa's economy has been a bit sluggish ever since the COVID pandemic, but we are seeing a huge recovery. Our forecast for this financial year is a growth of up to about 2%, albeit at the moment we're sitting at 0.5%. So that forecast already we are seeing some growth shots in terms of how our economy is actually turning around. One thing that is quite important for us, that is quite clear in terms of investor confidence, is that a lot of our investors are quite clear. The latest investor confidence index that has been done shows a huge improvement because of the government of national unity within the country, where South Africa's democracy has continued to mature.
Okay. All right. Well, I would love to thank you, Nabil, for your time and for speaking on this.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
In other news from around the world, U.S. President Donald Trump has begun a 4-day diplomatic tour of the Middle East, starting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where he signed a strategic partnership agreement with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Now, the visit, which also includes stops in Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, focuses on securing major new investments in the U.S. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump voices hope that Saudi Arabia will eventually recognize Israel in a speech in Riyadh in the presence of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Trump was joined by business leaders, including Elon Musk, at a lavish lunch ahead of the Saudi-U.S. Investment Forum.
My fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time what you've been able to do, but we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country.
In the world of sports, Edo Queens and Nasarawa Amazons claimed key victories in the NWFL Super 6 Championship in Ikenne, Ogun State. Now, the defending champions, Edo Queens, defeated Niger Rattles 2-0 in March Day 3 opening game thanks to a rapid-fire brace from MMSCN in the 20th and 22nd minutes. Despite tactical substitutions, Rattles failed to penetrate Edo's solid defense. In another match, Nasarawa Amazons edged Rivers Angels 2-1 with Janet Akeke Romowe scoring 2 in quick successions to maintain her red-hot form. Rivers responded late through a stunning free kick by Catherine Kenneth, but couldn't find an equalizer. Now, both teams dominated early and managed their leads effectively, positioning themselves strongly in the title race. The National Sports Commission has applauded Nigeria's under-20 team, the Flying Eagles, for securing a FIFA Under-20 World Cup ticket after a 1-0 win over defending champion Senegal at the AFCON Under-20 quarterfinals in Egypt. NSC Chairman Malam Shehu Dikko hailed the team's progress and praised the Nigerian Football Federation and coaching staff for their efforts. Now, Director General Bukola Olopade called the qualification a reflection of Nigeria's intentional grassroots sports development. He affirmed the government's support for national teams. The Flying Eagles now face South Africa in the semi-finals, while Egypt meets Morocco in the other tie. The NSC urged the team to stay focused and aim for the AFCON title in Ismailia. That's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. We heard that Senate has asked military to redeploy troops and advanced weapons to the northeast. You also heard that PDP crisis has worsened as all 3 senators from Kebi State have defected to the All Progressives Congress. Finally, we told you that United Nations has called for ceasefire in Libya with militia leader Abdelghani al-Kikli feared killed in clashes. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.